This week has been another shocking reminder how far adrift today's Conservative Party is from the conservative principles enunciated and implemented by its greatest peacetime leader, Margaret Thatcher. To me personally, this has been dramatically emphasised by the loss of Westminster Council to the Labour Party. Some 30 years ago, as the finance chairman, I set an annual community charge of £195. I am still a Westminster resident, and this year, when my local tax bill fell through the letterbox, it was nearly 900% higher than 3 decades ago. Yes, 9 times higher. Inflation in the intervening years amounts to some 129%. Obviously, this is an extreme example, but an 8-fold real increase over 30 years in any form of taxation is not acceptable. Quite naturally, Labour is now in charge locally, with a promise not to further raise local taxes. Nationally, we are on the brink of a serious economic crisis. The Governor of the Bank of England and the Monetary Policy Committee have now revealed the dire economic consequences of the government's response to the pandemic and its commitment to the big state. Significant monetary tightening will now have to occur. A downward correction in house prices will be a welcome development and bring home ownership more within reach of generation rent. Government spending as a proportion of annual income has risen to a level not seen since the post-war administration of the socialist Clement Attlee. When Margaret Thatcher left office, having adopted fiscally conservative principles, the national debt had been reduced to some 22% of gross domestic product. Now national debt is nearly 5 times higher, at around 100% of annual gross domestic product. Some 18% of this debt is due to our generally botched and authoritarian response to COVID. Much of the ire for this state of affairs will be directed by Conservative backbenchers at Boris Johnson. But my contention is that for the Conservative Party to have any chance of winning a general election in 2 years' time, it is now necessary to have a Chancellor of the Exchequer committed to a regime of low personal taxation, especially for those on modest incomes. The present incumbent's decision to raise direct taxes on those earning as little as £25,000 per annum displays a lack of economic and political judgment. The Conservatives now appear to show a lack of understanding of the role of incentives in expanding prosperity. There are still literally 1 or 2 people sitting on the Conservative benches that have the necessary political and economic judgment to reset economic and taxation policy to give their party an outside chance of winning the next general election. Swift action is required before this window closes once and for all. A reset is needed as a matter of urgency, since the term cost of living crisis is not adequate to describe the economic malaise into which this government is descending. It's some 40 years since Margaret Thatcher determined that Britain would not relinquish the Falkland Islands. Is there anyone who could possibly believe that she could have been party to the Northern Ireland Protocol, which leaves a part of the United Kingdom behind in the European Union without representation? The Northern Ireland Protocol is not just undermining the economic integrity of the United Kingdom, but signposting that Northern Ireland's political future may well lie with the Republic. Boris must now lance this boil without further delay. What is more, the very idea that part of the United Kingdom could be jettisoned adds credibility to the nationalist cause in Scotland. In short, Boris lives to fight another day. But the political and economic storm clouds are darkening, not lightening, and we will see whether he has the capacity to make the necessary changes in terms of personnel and policies to bring back Britain through its biggest crisis of the 21st century.